We want to thank you, the Joy Coaches, for being on this call today. This is our Expert Essential Educators call, so that as Joy Coaches around America, that you can be learning from these expert educators information that can help you as you process with your clients and share with them possible solutions as to why they're not feeling blissful, why their serotonin and dopamine levels are creating issues, whether it's a vitamin D deficiency that we learned about today from Chanel in the Love Your Gut presentation that she just did. Now we're privileged to hear from Dr. Coplin, and we'd like for Jeff Ward to give us a little bit of background and share with us, Jeff, what you would like to say to introduce Dr. Coplin to us.
Great. Well, we're really excited to be here, and it was a great presentation by Chanel. Really looking forward to hearing from Dr. Coplin. I will tell you that this is really one of Judy's favorite products because it's allowed her to sleep through the night, since it's eliminated my snoring and let me sleep deeper and longer. She really likes Dr. Coplin. She sings his praises all the time.
Yes, that's how I feel about him.
Yeah, she really loves Dr. Coplin. But I'll tell you that my experience with BLISS is really amazing. I was already sleeping better thanks to the mineral balance product that AVISAE has, and I was sleeping through the night pretty well. When I started using BLISS, and it's interesting because when you spray it in your mouth, and when you spray it in your mouth the first time, you'll think there's nothing there. It's like distilled water. It has no taste or flavor. So, but when I sprayed it, I thought, well, this is interesting, and then immediately realized that I'd started dreaming again. And I don't know if any of you have, as you've gotten older, have quit dreaming, or you don't seem to remember your dreams. But I know somewhere in probably my 30s, early 30s, I think I quit remembering my dreams. And I used to love dreaming. So when I started using BLISS, slept a little longer and deeper, I also started dreaming. And I welcomed having those dreams come back. So I love dreaming. As Dr. Coplin, I think, will explain, that means you're in REM, getting better sleep and deeper sleep, and that's I think when your body is recovering itself and healing itself at night. So we love that. And I will tell you, just maybe a month or so ago, I started having one of my dreams, and one of my prompting thoughts during the day was, I wonder how BLISS would impact military veterans with post-traumatic stress syndrome, PTSD. So I reached out to Dr. Coplin. He said, absolutely. He'll talk more about that. But, and so we're working on finding ways to get the BLISS product into the hands of veterans. But I'll tell you, the main thing is to allow Dr. Coplin to speak, because when we heard him talk about, why he developed BLISS, the amount of effort and work that went into developing it, the amount of studies, and exactly what it does, we were absolutely flabbergasted, dumbfounded at what an amazing product it is. And so really, without taking any more time, unless you want to add anything,
No.
I'd like to hear from Dr. Coplin and let him speak to everybody and tell him in his own, tell you in his own words the story of BLISS. Dr. Coplin?
I'm here.
All right, we can hear you.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
This has been a long journey for BLISS. I started research on this in the year 2000. I came across some decades old, actually, research that had been done on field mice, that the original research was used to try to determine why they only bred in the springtime. And they went through several iterations of testing with, the diurnal cycles of the sun, just a lot of different things, including that, and finally determined that it was the new grown grasses that they would eat. And they started correlating them with horses, foals that are born in the spring, and they're frolicking, frisky attitude, and a lot of different things like that. And as I looked at this, I thought that should have application for humans. And my first thought was that, well, we need to go out and graze more. that the research that I started doing isolated certain compounds that are in new grown grasses, and those are a classification of plants called monocots. There are 57,000 monocots, and these compounds are in all 57,000 of them. There are they include all of the cereal grains, all the grasses, your front yard, things like bananas, banana plants, and 20,000 orchid plants. So there's a wide variety of plants that have these compounds in them. And the thing that we were able to isolate was a compound called 6-MBOA. It's methoxybenzoazinone. But 6-MBOA is a polyphenol. And as we isolated that, we could use that to elicit the breeding in the field mice. The problem with the 6-MBOA, if we synthetically produced it, it was about $4,500 for a few ounces of it. Made it, therefore it wasn't commercially viable. So we had to find some ways to make this commercially viable. And the other thing I need to mention that we found out was that the compound that we were able to isolate does not exist in mature plants. So as you eat cereal grains, as you eat bananas, if you ate orchids or anything like that, none of these compounds exist. They only exist in the immature plant, and they are in the plant to help it reach maturity. Once any kind of grass grows past the first joint, then the 6-MBOA starts diminishing it. And as it reaches maturity, it's no longer in there. One of the reasons we were able to patent this is because you can open a can of corn and you can't find any of this in there. So we developed 7 use patents. So they are much different than a process patent or anything you would design, since these things hadn't been used for the purposes we were using them. So anyway, we were able to isolate this and determine that it was a polyphenol. And as we started developing the uses and started doing more work with them, we found out that it was an entire family of polyphenols that acted, 6-MBOA being the most prominent. But there's 15 polyphenols that we use. Like I said, none of them exist in mature plants. So we began harvesting baby grasses. We were basically using baby corn, and we would plant it like, we would just broadcast plant it like you would your front yard. And then when it got to about 8 to 10 inches tall, we would mow it. And then we dried it and pulverized it, powderized it. And we started trying to use that as in administering it as a supplement to see if we could get a result. And we started realizing results when we were taking 16 double-aught capsules 4 times a day. That you run into a compliance problem when you have 16 double-aught capsules 4 times a day. Especially, there's not a kid in the world that's going to take that much. So we thought the next thing we would have to do is increase not only the potency but the yield of the plants. So we started planting the seeds much closer together, and we started adding some salt to the ground to stress the plants. And it did have an effect on the plants. It increased the yield, and it increased the concentration per yield, so that we were able to get by with about half the dosage we were using before. But still, 16 double-aught capsules twice a day is way too much. We just couldn't get compliance. So we just kept working on it, trying to find ways that we could get a concentration to a level that was acceptable to people, and we get rid of the compliance problems. I met with a variety of people around the country to see how we could manifest this in the research that we were doing. And I was told that polyphenols are fat soluble. And because they're fat soluble, we could extract the polyphenols out of the plants and leave everything else as residue. So I went back to Pittsburgh to a company back there that does extractions, and sure enough, they assured me we could extract this as a fat soluble compound. So we sent them back an example of what we had, our samples, and they were able to extract the compounds that we wanted. It extracts all fat solubles, so we get chlorophyll, we get all the polyphenols and some other compounds, which we felt was to an advantage. Then the problem then was that we had a thick, tarry goop that we had to find out how to get that down people's throats and let them use it. The issue became pretty critical because we found that we could use, not use all of the double aught capsules that we had been using, but we could actually use this with about 60 micrograms in a capsule, as long as we could find a way to make a vehicle for it, which would have to be a fat of some sort. We tried several different types of oils and several different delivery methods. The problem is that all of the gel caps and the capsules that we could use, they're fat soluble also. So it put us at a real disadvantage. So what we decided to do at that point was actually put the compounds in a base of sunflower seed oil. And we had about an ounce of that would give us 60 micrograms a day for 30 days. And we did it in a dropper bottle, and it worked very well. The efficacy of it was excellent. Again, we had some taste problems and color. It tastes like grass. It's a terrible green color, and it didn't smell very good. But people were willing to take it, if it made them feel better, which it did. I got to working with it again. I went back into the lab, and after about, I think it took me almost 2 years, I discovered that I could take the tarry goop that we had, and I could micronize it. I could nanosize it. Then we had to figure out how to keep it suspended in solution. So I started doing some more research on that, and it took me about another 2 years to find a way to suspend that so that it was a colloidal suspension and would not settle out, would not coagulate or agglomerate or do anything, so that each of these particles that we're using would stay independent in its own sphere. So we developed that, and we have product now that is 8 years old that doesn't degrade, it doesn't settle out, it has full potency, doesn't grow any microbiomes. It's as pure as the day we bottled it, it's as pure now as the day we bottled it. So we keep testing these as we make new products. So right now we know our shelf life is at least 8 years. So we keep doing that. We'll probably keep working on it. And you are right when you said the first time you took it, there's nothing in it. Well, it's only about 13 parts per million. But that's all it takes, because the absorption rate is about 2.5 million times a supplement's, if you were to take a supplement with this in it. That's why we like the spray, we like the nanotechnology. we like the additional technology of being able to keep it suspended in the water. So we basically use a purified water. It's a distilled purified water, and then it is we have a way of suspending that in there without adding anything to it, just through a process that we've developed. And that process we won't patent, we won't divulge. That we will just hold as proprietary. Now, yes, question. I can't hear you. I still can't hear you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Karyn, and I have a question for you. I'm trying to take notes on what you're sharing, just because I want to understand it. And could you go back to how did you figure it was these grasses? And how many different types did you use in your product, just because it's fascinating?
Well, we went through a series of tests trying to find out what stimulated the mice to breed. We went through testing, the days were getting longer. We thought maybe that was it. We thought maybe it was certain ages of the mice that allowed them to breed, but we found that almost once they got into maturity, it was any age. We looked at mineral content. We looked at several different things. We finally got down to the possibility that it must be diet. So we started on a regimen of feeding them different things that were in their dietary realm. When they ate normal grasses and normal seeds and things like that, nothing happened. They did not go into a breeding cycle. But when they ate immature grasses, new grass, it stimulated them and they started breeding. So we started growing grasses, and we started harvesting them at an immature level and feeding them, and all of the mice went into a breeding cycle.
Wow.
That was what we found. So then we went from that point trying to isolate what was in the grasses that made them go into a breeding cycle that the mature grasses did not cause.
So my next question is, how did you transfer that into the knowledge and the understanding that this could help those of us, I will admit, who have ADHD?
Okay, from there, what we did was we started taking these and developing them around research that had been done to find out if there was any other research that would confirm what we were finding. And as we started doing correlated research with these, we found that not only did other researchers find things that substantiated the breeding aspect of it, but there were also hints in there that this might have something to do with behavior and mood. So we started pursuing other avenues to see what it would do, and we started doing other research to find out what this would do. Along the pathway of doing this, we found that the mode of operation of this was that it caused a modulation of serotonin levels. And as the modulation of serotonin levels became balanced in the animals, the breeding would take place, the behavioral changes would come about. It affected fat metabolism. It affected, in humans, it affected memory. And these were all related to serotonin balance or modulation. So as we got to looking at those, we thought, well, if our product balances serotonin levels or modulates serotonin levels, then the thing that we want to do is do clinical studies or go to the research on these things that showed those various degrees of help in those different areas. So we started accumulating research that had been done all over the world. And we have about, I would say in excess of 20,000 pages of research now to support this. And we started mini trials, MINI, not MANY. We started small trials targeting those specific things that we wanted to test. And as we developed our own research in support of the research that had been done around the world, then we started submitting the patent material to secure the patents on the uses. So if you go to our patents and look now, everything that BLISS claims to do is absolutely effective within the realm of the patent. And in addition to those that we allow with BLISS, there's all the off-label stuff that you folks are discovering: ADHD, autism. Those are the serendipitous uses. However, those kinds of things are listed in all of our patent materials. It's just that what BLISS is licensed to do does not contain all those things. So that's why you see the claims that BLISS makes versus what you're discovering serendipitously.
Thank you. That is so fascinating. So can you tell us what you, as the inventor, creator, patent holder of this, what you say that BLISS can do for us, whether that's for a child, an adult, what in your ability to share with us, what do you believe?
Okay, that's a little bit difficult position for me because I'm supporting a product for AVISAE.
Okay.
So they have certain things that they can use it for and claim and work on. Now the Food and Drug Administration and the Federal Trade Commission have agreed in their documentation that anything our research supports, we can claim. But we don't claim that it treats any disease or any illness. What we can say is that, like the things that you've discovered, it seems to be effective in with people that have certain problems. So as far as me committing to making claims for it, I really can't do that. And that has to do with the relationship I have with AVISAE.
Okay. So they could tell us, right? So AVISAE could share with us, like Jeff or
they've probably shared with you everything they're going to tell you.
Okay.
The things that you want to deal with and everything are considered off-label.
Okay.
for purposes of using BLISS.
Perhaps since Shanila's back, she could speak to that a little bit more, because I think she works with the realm of which she can describe the BLISS product.
Who?
Within the confines of AVISAE.
Yeah, I won't make any claims that are off-label, and that's my relationship with AVISAE.
But Dr. Coplin, you can talk to the clinical trial, right?
I can always speak to clinical trials.
Yeah, so talk about the sleep clinical trial. I think that's really fascinating.
The sleep clinical trial, is that on your website?
It is. Okay.
The sleep clinical trial was done several years ago. It addresses issues of sleep. It was electronically monitored, so that the results are very sound. It was done according to a Pittsburgh sleep protocol devised at the University of Pittsburgh, but the most famous users of the Pittsburgh sleep protocol are Yale University and Harvard University. And we had ours done. We had our sleep study done under a Yale protocol. The results were pretty good. You know, when you look at it, the people that, I don't have it in front of me, but when it took 5 issues of sleep, sleep quality, sleep efficiency, REM sleep, and a couple of others, and there were improvements in every one. With the nature of any kind of study like that, you have to understand that they do everything they can to ensure that the participants are selected randomly. So you may have 25 or 30% of the people that sleep pretty well and may not notice a lot of difference. So we run into that with BLISS. And one of the things I always ask people, like you, Jeff, when they say, well, I'm not sleeping any better than I did before, the thing I'll ask them is, are you dreaming? And almost without exception, people will say, yeah, I am dreaming. I'm dreaming for the first time. Often people will say, no, I'm not sleeping any better, but boy, I'm having wild dreams. So that's a sign of REM sleep. That's the reparative sleep that the body needs to go through. And most people, as they age, they lose that ability or that capacity to have REM sleep.
Thank you.
That sleep study. We've got a couple of mini studies going right now that are quite remarkable. And but until we're ready to publish the results, we won't. But you're discovering some of that stuff too. And like I say, that's off-label. Off-label is not nearly so important with a supplement as it is with a prescription drug. But we still want to be careful about how we characterize this and how we hold it out to people.
Thank you.
Yeah, when I've got a question or maybe a clarification, because I think I understand it, but maybe want to make sure I do, and I think it'd be helpful for other people. When you think of BLISS as a serotonin and melatonin adaptogen, in layman's terms, what does that mean when you hear that? I know how I think about it.
Yeah, what we've discovered is that, and this is fairly recent, within the last probably in the last year and a half, is that we've always classified it as adaptogenic, and what we've discovered is that it's epigenetic. It basically, you take this and it turns a switch, and if you're not sleeping well, if you have a bad mood, if you're depressed and things like that, and you take this, the body switches back to what normal really is. And it says, oh, that wasn't normal. The reason you have to keep taking it is that the body will try to go back to that abnormal, which to the body had become normal. I'm moody, I'm depressed, I don't sleep, I've got lousy appetite, whatever it is, I've got indigestion, I've got pain, whatever those things are, those things have become normal to you. Yeah. So just because you flip the switch back and say, oh, this was normal, it doesn't mean the body's going to stay there, simply because the situation, your environment, what you're doing, who you are, has become that abnormal that the body's calling normal. So until you can start feeling normal and sleeping normally and doing all those things, and then eliminate those stress factors, which very well could be the other products that AVISAE is talking about. It may be a new job, it may be that kind of stress, who knows? But until you can start eliminating those things that your normal is not coping with, you're going to go back to that. So people wonder, well, if that's the case, why don't I just stay that way? And it's like Chanel was saying earlier, just because you take a supplement once and you feel better on it, it doesn't solve the problem. So we want to get people to a point where they can function really normally. And in order to do that, you have to start eliminating those things that click you over into that area you don't want to be in. And since we have learned that, we've decided that, it's led us in a new research path where we think that most of the things, if not all of the products that we will develop, will be epigenetic. Yeah. And the nice thing about epigenetics, when you use epigenetics, is there's no side effects. There's no residual effect on it. There's no toxicity. You take it and then it's gone. And if it didn't do the trick, it didn't do any harm. But generally, with the things that BLISS will do, and these are the things that are enumerated in their literature for you, they're going to do one or some or maybe all of those things, simply because those are the switches that have to get turned on in your body.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. That's very helpful to understand that clearly. I would add,
it doesn't take much.
Yeah, when I started using BLISS, it helped me sleep better, obviously, and the dreams came back. After a few weeks of that, I decided, hey, I'm just going to try it in the morning. I was using it at night, so I added 6 or 7 squirts in the morning. And after I did that for a period of 2 or 3 days, I didn't know until I did it that I was having these little mini panic attacks during the day. After using that for 3 days in a row, I realized I wasn't any longer what I would call overreacting to different kinds of work circumstances.
Well, that is a real keynote of serotonin imbalance, is anxiety.
Yeah.
And so you get serotonin balance, and you're going to feel more on an even keel. And we're working on some products right now, or a product right now, that balances that. Well, I don't like to use the word balance. It modulates dopamine production. And one of the problems that a lot of people have is this kind of behavior where, you go high dopamine, you're going, wow, I feel great. Then you come back down and you feel kind of normal. Then you go low serotonin, you go, I feel crappy. So we want to level out that horizon with serotonin and dopamine, because those should always be balanced in order to keep us on an even keel.
Yeah.
Well, we want to just, if there's any questions, I know Lucinda Foster had some questions that she wrote in the chat box, and I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see that teeny, but I want to show the bottle of BLISS. This is the bottle. Del and I, we heard from Jeff and Judi what it's done, and so we just decided that we wanted to try, so we did 2 bottles of this, one for Del and one for me, and we want to thank you so much, and I just appreciate everything that you have shared with us, Dr. Coplin, and if Lucinda can unmute herself, she can ask her questions again. And if there's anything that Jeff and Judi want to share, or Chanel, about what AVISAE can actually say about anything that you would want us to know, and those who are not on the call but are going to be watching the recording, what AVISAE can say about this. And also, Chanel, I believe that this product is in the Love Your Gut kit, right? So this is there in the Love Your Gut kit. So I'm excited about that. And here's Lucinda. Lucinda, do you want to ask your questions?
Yeah, I have been actually starting to read and study up on CBD oil or hemp oil for crossing the blood-brain barrier for ADD, and my son has some Tourette's-like tics. And so I'm just wondering if the science is similar. It sounds like...
You want me to talk about weed?
Not weed, but not marijuana. No psychoactive stuff.
Yeah, well, I understand. It doesn't have the THC in it. And I'm very familiar with that, and we are actually researching that right now. But without giving away any trade secrets, there is a better way to go than CBD.
You mean in the future or right now?
Well, not right now. I think we'll have something available within the next year. I'm not against CBD. I've seen too much empirical evidence of it. You know, it's there, it works, and you can do it without the psychoactives. But that's just you know, it works in a variety of ways. I'm not. Hemp is a dicot. It's not a monocot. It's a different kind of plant, and CBD is fat soluble, so we've got some similarities there. But I don't believe, my personal feeling right now with the research that I've done is CBD actually integrates into the metabolic processes, and it's not an epigenetic product. So other than that, I really don't know a lot to tell you about it. We own some of it, and we are working with it in the processes that we use. I have, quite frankly, I have higher priorities than that right now. The one, like I said before, I want to achieve a balance between dopamine and serotonin. So that's where I'm putting the bulk of my research right now. And the other area of research that we're working on is therapeutic ketone. We like things that are brain food.
Yeah.
And I know we can deliver those things. So that's where the thrust of my research goes in the company that I own.
Okay, and then here's my other question. Well, CBD oil just really seems like it's for maybe brain things, but mostly pain and mood.
Well, that I don't know. You know, I'm certainly the empirical evidence is there, but I don't know how I would even address it because we have not done that kind of research on it. And we certainly haven't done any studies, and I'm not even sure that my company could get licensed to do a study. That's why
really,
I said
my question is, what is there for that could support fertility? I mean, I understand the probiotics, but what about this BLISS product? It's just
I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. What about the BLISS product? Does it support fertility?
The research that is done, and there's a lot of research done on this. About 75% of the research that has been done on BLISS or the base product has been done on animals, and most of the studies that have been done have been relative to fertility. So in animals, I can tell you that mice and panda bears, it's huge for fertility. We've not done a human study.
Oh, thank you.
Lots of help there.
Linda, do you have any other questions?
Well, I will want to listen back over it because I always want to understand the science behind something. So, yeah, I can't right now. I have distractions.
You're busy. You got some busy hands over there.
That looks familiar. I've seen a lot of that.
Okay. Janelle, did you have something to say?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Now we can. We couldn't before, but now we can.
Okay, good. So I can actually talk to CBD oil. CBD oil actually currently is not even available in Utah. The largest manufacturing plant in Utah that made it, they came in and shut it down, CBD oil. It's not being allowed currently in Utah, actual pure CBD oil. our other, one of my other doctors on our actually medical advisory board, he formulates CBD oil for Australia. He's actually the only provider for Australian CBD through their government. Dr. JB, I don't know if you've heard of him, but one of the things that we're finding is CBD oil. It does help with things that people are experiencing as far as like mental issues and pain management and things like that. But what is interesting is when you use products like when I call about the rebalance part of our protocol, which is the probiotics and BLISS, you really are going to see a lot of those issues alleviate with those two products alone, where you wouldn't even need a CBD oil on top of that in order to alleviate some of those problems, especially fertility. CBD oil is definitely not, I would not say it would be my first, like if I was to recommend somebody for infertility, that would not be my first choice, would be a CBD oil. It would really
there's no research that would direct you that way anyway.
No. And so I wouldn't, that's not even something that I would recommend for a client of mine or anything like that. Probiotics, absolutely. BLISS, absolutely. Taking out a lot of the things that we're finding that are associated with infertility, like sucralose, aspartame. We've seen a lot of connections with those in infertility. Candida has been linked with infertility issues. So we are finding a lot of things like that. And so as you start to balance your human microbiome, a lot of these issues just alleviate themselves.
Yeah, that's actually been my experience. When I beat Candida, then I had a baby at 40 and another one at 42. So I'm not looking to CBD.
I had somebody give me a hug last weekend, and I put her on the Candida protocol, and she's like, "Chanel, you got me pregnant." Sounds weird, but I'll take it. Yeah.
So I knew CBD oil wasn't for that. I was just wondering if BLISS was. Stop. Don't, please.
Were there any other questions?
Thank you.
We are so grateful. I hope I'm not muted. I want to just thank you. This was an amazing.
Yeah. I need to sign off. So
Today's call, and I have taken notes. I've taken notes. I've sent it to 15 women who were not on the call, who were not able to be here, as well as a few, and already have been getting text messages back. Great, where did we get this? So we will be in touch with Jeff, and we just thank you for being here today so much. It was,
okay, thank you. I've got to sign off. So
Okay, thank you, Don. Chanel, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Have a good night.
Thank you. So Jeff, go ahead. Whoever has to leave, go ahead and just end your call. And Jeff, we want to thank you so much for Jeff and Judi for, it's really amazing, because if this was sitting on the shelf at Walgreens, I would never order it. And after tasting it, I would never order it because it tastes like water, as you said. And like, why would I try this? Some of these products definitely need the education, which is why we have these calls, the Expert Essential Educators Call, every Tuesday at 4:30. We hope that you'll come back, Jeff and Judi, and share more with us and educate us on some of the other products. I really want to focus on the Love Your Gut. I had a gastric bypass in 1997. I lost 110 pounds. Wow. And kept that off, basically. Transfusion from having pernicious anemia. I gained back 40 of those pounds. I think somebody with chubby blood cells donated their blood, and I inherited it, and I gained 40 pounds with that blood transfusion. And so recently I have been working again to now lose weight by using the gift of willpower instead of slice and dice, the method that I used. And so I am very grateful for this, because when you have a gastric bypass, it cuts off some of your stomach.
Yeah.
which is where the serotonin and dopamine levels are, dopamine and serotonin are manufactured. And
Yeah.
so I have struggled with mood disorder ever since. My normal, happy, cheerful, jubilant self has really had to make a run for it to try to stay that way. So I am just so excited that this can help my body. If no other joy coach on the call got anything from this, I know that I did, and I am so grateful for your perseverance, Jeff and Judi. I could cry because I know we've gotten these beautiful text messages from you weekly for almost the year we've been married. I want you to know that I do love you. I am so grateful for what you've shared with me.
Yeah.
I have noticed that I'm laughing more as I cry. I am laughing again, and I am happy. And already in just a couple of days of using this product, I feel cheerful in the mornings. I'm not waking up with that melancholy, low grade, absolute feeling of struggling to be happy. And here I am, I call myself a joy coach, and I've had to work so hard to be joyful. And poor Dell has had to wake up with this depressed wife every day. And so anyway, I'm just thankful for you. I hope that I will sleep better when he stops snoring. And I hope that you will be excited when I stop more.
It's right by the side.
What I think I understand is that this helps the body to manufacture the serotonin that my body has not been able to manufacture for 11 years.
Yeah.
So thank you. And I know that the joy coaches are getting over inundated with me bringing a new product to the table every single week. But I know that there's no company that has it all. And I know because the Spirit has told me that I need the Love Your Gut program. And I now know why. I now understand that I'm only 10% human. And the rest of me is struggling to stay alive with complete flora. And so thank you. I just send you hugs and kisses.
Oh.
Thank you so much.